Welcome to you all after the Diwali and all other excitements. So we'll start with where we have left last time. PowerPoint. So we had completed this part, that is personality types. We broadly understood what these three types of personalities are. They are Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika. And in the Tamasic to start with, they are basically by nature ignorance and laziness. Goal of life is indulgences. The effect of that is most of the time distress. The direction of their life is downward. The worship of them, they worship the demons and spirits and such kind of elements. Food is strongly flavored, stale, liquor and things like that. Sacrifice for wrong purposes. Austerity is a self-torture. Harsh and lying is a speech. State of mind is tormented. Charity is to the unworthy. Motive of renunciation is escape. Religious vision is no God, only oneself alone is most important. Mode of action is to cause harm. Self-expression is vulgar and distorted. Power of reasoning is perverse, distorted. Motive of action is stupidity, despair. Source of pleasure is chaos and pain. And destiny is realms of darkness. Whereas the Rajasic, where most of us belong to, the nature is action and desire. Goal of life is to accomplish things in life. Effect is most of the time it is painful because of the unpredictable success and failures. Direction is middle because neither one is going downward nor really taking greater heights of spiritual flights. Therefore, in the middle. Worship is God with requesting or pleading for wealth. And food is mostly that which is giving most of the physical energy only, animal products. Sacrifice is for the sake of gaining particular results. Austerity is for gaining certain recognition, name and fame, attention. Speech is clever, manipulating to achieve one's own end. State of mind is always agitated, restless because of the uncertainty of the results. Charity is only for the sake of getting more and more name and fame. Motive of renunciation is freedom from sorrow, so that one can gain better name and fame by even renunciation. Religious vision is God only in a particular form. Mode of action is with a lot of effort. Self-expression is very passionate. Power of reasoning is disturbed by most of the time desires, mostly mind-related thoughts and actions, not intellect-related. Motive of action is selfish attachments. Source of pleasure is pleasure to the senses. And destiny is only remaining as person active in the earth, meaning in the earthly plane. Whereas a Sattvic person, the nature is wisdom and happiness. Now, why we gave this kind of a table is to find out where we are and what would be our goal. A Sattvic person seeks wisdom and happiness, not just desire fulfillment. And goal of life is life that is enlightenment or moksha. Effect is most of the time peaceful. Direction is upward. Worship is the highest supreme Lord. Food is those which can help one quieten the mind, calm down. So vegetable, fruits, etc. Sacrifice is done as a duty, not as for results, as the Rajasic person would do. Austerity is for the sake of inner purity, mental purity. Speech is mostly truthful, sweet, not hurting, not achieving for one's own selfish purpose. State of mind is usually peaceful. Charity is for the right cause, for it is performed with the right motive of getting the better environment results, better environment and helping out others. Motive of renunciation is giving up the lower for the sake of higher life. Religious vision is seeing God in all, ideally. Mode of action is detachment. And self-expression is very refined, elegant, cultured. Power of reasoning is clean and calm due to intellectual clarity and conviction. Motive of action is universal well-being. That is to do everything for the sake of the maximum, like Sarve Bhavantu Suchina, that attitude. Source of pleasure is for the sake of greater good and not for individual mere senses and their pleasures. And destiny is higher state of consciousness. So having seen this, as we have been emphasizing this point, to err is human, seek to forgive is religion, and strive to correct is spirituality. The intention is to correct the wrongs that is done in the past, so that one is capable of moving forward. And in the next slide, as we start today's discussion, spiritual values replace habits and tendencies born of deep impressions. In other words, spiritual values should replace vasanas. As we have seen, vasanas are those which we are born with, but we need not die with that. Somebody said beautifully that born as a poor is a curse on which you do not have any, you have no choice if you are born as a poor. But dying as a poor is stupidity. Because that means you have not done anything to improve yourself. In the same way, to be born with certain vasanas, we cannot help it. Whatever we have done in the past has made us have this kind of certain vasanas very strong. But if vasanas can be replaced by values, those values take precedence. Those values take the important role in our life. That is what we call it as a spiritual practice. So strong reaction toward any undesirable event, object, or a person can be anger, restlessness, or violence. Unchecked reactions become our habits. So vasanas get strengthened as we unconsciously keep doing the same thing over and over again. Reactions can be replaced by values such as forgiveness, tolerance, compassion. It's a conscious practice, one at a time, every time. So this requires a greater attention. And as young you are, most of you are in the stage where you have no pressure from professional or social pressures are not there. Community is not pressuring or forcing you to certain things. So you are, at the present moment, your life is pretty much doing your best in your study and then submission of your projects and things like that. So you will have no external pressures as much as a working person would have or a family person would have. A family person will have social pressures, professional pressures, family pressures, and so many other responsibilities. So when you have a time of your student life, you are more at ease at this point. You have more time, or more consciously you can do this. So during those 2, 3, 4 years when you're studying in the university, you have to take a few of those values and see how it can help you out in many different interactions and reactions in the world. So spiritual values can be effectively practiced if one can personalize a spiritual vision. And the Bhagavad-Gita's teachings begin with the vision of spirituality. So how Bhagavan Krishna at the battlefield telling Arjuna to start with how to replace habitual tendencies and reactions with conscious spiritual values. Now, we have seen in the previous slides a certain diagram. I'm going to come back to that a little more now. But this transformation, parinama it's called in Sanskrit, Parinama is an inner transformation. That is the object of spiritual practice. More than a religious practice such as prayer, japa, puja, going to the temple. Those things are there, but the real transformation takes place when we take it at different layers. Now, as this particular slide would show you, to transforming core values, intentions, thoughts, actions, and reactions. In the previous slides, we have seen that vasanas lead to intentions, intention lead to thoughts, thoughts lead to actions, action lead to reactions. Now, at each level of our inner personality, at the vasana level, at the level of intentions, at the level of thoughts, at the level of actions, at the level of reactions. In all these stages, we can consciously bring about a transformation. Now, how do we go about that? We'll see that here. The core values can be transformed only when we sit quietly with ourselves with a determination to replace vasanas with values, for which no particular activity is prescribed. It's only paying attention to your deeper layers of your personality. This requires quiet hours of looking within, and that is exactly what meditation does. To start with, it is a contemplation, thinking about it, and then abiding in those values deeply. We'll come to that a little later now. Then intentions at the intellectual level, it is intentions, motive, purpose. That by redefining your goal, what exactly I want, what exactly I'm looking for in my life. So that intellectual clarity and conviction has to come, for which you have to redefine your ultimate goal. We have seen this before also. Immediate goals may be your professional goals and personal goals, all right. But ultimate goal is only spiritual goal. I want to be free. I want to not to become a victim of my mind, my own desires, my environment, the people around. I need to redefine my spiritual goal. So this is the intellectual conviction. Next comes the mind, which basically is the intermediary between your conviction and action. Actual executor of your conviction, what you have decided in your intellect, is the mind. As I have said, if as an example, when you are hungry and you want to go and eat something in the restaurant, and when you reach the restaurant and you have the menu card in front of you, and you know very clearly some of them are not good for your body, fried and sweet and deeply fried and oily, etc. They are not good for your body. Intellectually, you know it, while your mind has the taste for it because of the previous vasanas. Now, when you bring a value of health into picture, then you become mindful about what you are eating. So the mind, therefore, is the actual executor of what you are intellectually convinced about. So that needs to be brought in during the thinking aspect. How am I going to do? Why am I going to do? Why am I doing what I'm doing? So that mindfulness is the next layer. And actions, again, we'll come to that. At the physical body level, it is the action which must be focused on the purpose. And that is where Karma Yoga comes into picture. We'll come to that later. And then finally, it is a reaction, how we meet the results of our action and how it will either weaken or strengthen our vasanas. That is decided by what kind of an emotional balance we maintain at all times. So this will be the focus of our today's discussion. Now we'll go to the next one. As you know, values lead to intentions. Now, values are those which are to be those which are replacing vasanas, as I have explained to you. The personality who we are presently decided by the core impressions that we have born with. And no doubt it is very hard for us to overcome that, but not impossible. Gurudev used to say, impossible and I am possible. No, the words are same. I am possible and I am possible, impossible. So from impossible to I am possible. It is possible for us to overcome the vasanas. Only thing is, we have to become aware of it. Yes, this is not right. I'm looking for this, or I'm busy with something which are utterly useless for my life, but I am habituated to that. For a person who is smoking, you ask him, why are you smoking? What is the purpose of smoking? He will say, I have no purpose. It is my habit, right? It is my habit, I'm smoking. Because is he going to achieve anything out of that? No. It's only temporary pleasure I get. And finally, he knows that it is going to cause his health. I know it, but yet you cannot help it. You see? So, why is it going on now? Okay. So, values are the principles of life. They give birth to right intentions. So, it is the core values that we keep in mind, keep in our deeper personality, is the one which is going to determine the convictions that we'll have. So, we'll see this here. Values leading to intentions. The core values are results of your upbringing, education, culture, and beliefs. Vasanas are born with us, but values are born out of our upbringing, the culture and environment in which we are born, the family in which we are born, the kind of culture that is given to us, samskaras they are called in Sanskrit, the samskaras that are given to us by our parents, by our teachers, and the educational system, and the society or community in which we lived, the religion in which we have practiced. All these bring about the intensity of the values. So, core values influence the way you perceive the world and your life. So, a person who is born, maybe in the same family also, two people, but the way they perceive the world is decided by, through their education, what they have understood as most important in their life. And definitely the family, the friends, the kind of education had, kind of school one has gone to, kind of religious beliefs and religious practices one had, and what are the books you have read, what are the elders, who are the elders who have influenced you, all those things, you can see the demonstration of certain values from the people elder to you. For example, speaking truth or being sincere in your work. When I was growing up, no doubt I saw a little bit of that in the parents, in my uncles or some, but then I was not that convinced because they didn't talk about it. Perhaps I noticed, perhaps I have not noticed. But then when I came in contact with Gurudev, I saw that sincerity, punctuality, clarity, determination, Gurudev exemplified it so well. If he said something, he really meant it. And if he had said, okay, this is right, and he stuck to it, his punctuality, his way of handling people. I have never seen anyone who is so clear and so open in what he said, what he did. The clarity was so there, so much there. He never deviated from his core convictions. And every time he talked, he acted, he demonstrated. So, that had gone deeply into my personality. So, yeah, if he says something, he will do it. And he also made us like that. He says, if you say something to someone, you promise something to someone, you have to do it. No question asked. So before you say anything, carefully think about it. So certain core values are not born of me. It is not my vasana. But then I picked up. So also you, surely, if you have a very influential teacher who had, or somebody elders, or somebody whom you have met in your life, had demonstrated something, some value, which is most admirable, then you will know that it is possible for me to also practice that. So that's what I call it as a core value. For example, a company, a particular manufacturing company, if they are making a product and they are so conscious about the quality of the product, surely wherever you find the name brand, you know the quality is there. You have absolutely no doubt about that. Because see, many times when we go and buy anything, we look for what's the brand more than the product. Okay, I can buy this, but who's the manufacturer, who produced this? If it is XYZ, this particular company, then I have no doubt about it. It has to be quality. So how you come to conclude that? Because you know the value of quality is there, in that particular brand. So in the same way, we have to find out what are the core values I am known for. Do I have a core value which anybody who thinks about me, that core value should come to their mind? This person is of this particular value. If you say Mahatma Gandhi, core value is there in him of ahimsa. No doubt about it. Nobody can doubt that. Even his enemies won't doubt it. Whether it is appreciable or not appreciable is a different kind of thing. But he is known for it. Right? So the purpose of your life is determined by the core values. It expresses as intentions behind every action and interaction. So it is not the values are to be practiced on some of the situations with some people and not all the people, some situation and not all situation, sometime and not all the time. No. Value is that a value is always a value. It cannot change from person to person, place to place, situation to situation. It has to be the same all the time, in all actions, in all interactions, at all time. That's why it takes time to determine what are your core values. That's why I said it requires meditation. So through deep contemplation and meditation, you can change the values gradually. And so at this level, realize that you are what your core values are. Meditate daily on the positive values. This will transform you. So once you have decided certain core values to yourself, one by one at a time, if you have decided to live by a core value, you should die for it. That's what is called transformation. I change myself in every way to live by that particular core value. So here is a beautiful statement. Contemplation frees the soul. Human society is a ceaseless growth, unfoldment in terms of spirituality. My intense longing is to lose myself and become merely a lump of clay in the potter's divine. This was said by none other than Mahatma Gandhi, who said that my core value is gained out of contemplation. And what is my final longing? What is that I want to be? I want to be a product of the Lord. I want to be constantly being molded by the absolute Lord. I am ready for submitting myself to the higher power. So that, that I am a humble servant of the Lord. That the core value which he maintained. So the practice of values is, first of all, jot down the values that you want to live in your life. Make them non-negotiable. So that what it means is that you should not at any given point of time, there is no question of you saying, okay, this sometimes I would do, sometimes I don't care. So that kind of unclear idea should not be there about values. Values are expressed through attitudes and behavior. Express them in all your actions in the world. So if your value is something is something very deep within you. You should definitely think about how am I going to express in my actions, in my behavior, in my interactions with the world, in the way I speak, in the way I do things, in the way I explain. For example, if a person like Gurudev, and let me give the example of Gurudev, his core value has been that the people should be living based upon their intellectual conviction and not mere emotional reactions. In many places, he says that intellectual conviction is very important. And intellectual conviction comes only by study of scriptures on a daily basis. And he made sure in his life that not a single day he would spend without discussing about scriptures. So because that was his core value, I need to make sure that myself constantly improve my way of thinking with the help of the correct information that I get from the Shastra or scriptures. That was his core value. As it is said in the Upanishads, Swadhyaya pravachanapyam na pramatitavyam. Study of scriptures and explaining them should not be left even one day. So he always told us that if you are not talking on the scriptures or discussing on a spiritual subject, don't even eat on that day. It's not worth it. It's not worth to keep that body on that day by eating. If you are not even interested in doing your spiritual activity. And he did it from the day he has come out of the Himalayas to talk to the people till the day he left the body. Every day he engaged in spreading the knowledge. So that was his value. So somebody asked him the question, Swamiji, you are a Swami and I have never seen you doing a puja. Because, people sit in front of the Lord and offer flowers and practice some prayers, say some prayers. He says, my puja or my upasana or my worship of God is in my speech, in my distribution of knowledge, in my talking to people and changing their way of thinking. That is my puja to the Lord. That is my offering to the Lord. So that was his conviction. So, deciding what my core value is going to be, which is not negotiable, and how am I going to express that value in whatever I do, whatever I say. How do you behave when nobody is watching is a great test to your attitude and behavior. Will you stop browsing that web when you go to sleep at night? A simple thing as our picked up habit till late night browsing or doing something on the net. So if it is work related, yes, I understand, or study related, but then generally, chatting and then gossiping and habit, and then next day will be very difficult for you to get up in time. So definitely when you are bringing a core value into your life, certain things have to change, certain things you have to stop, certain things you have to modify, certain things you have to question, certain things you have to let go. This is not necessary. I don't see any reason why I should do this. So that is what the transformation, that's when the transformation takes place. Make values part of your will list and not wish list. Wishing is easy. Willing requires commitment on your part. It's a commitment to live by those values, right? So again, going back, vasanas are what we are born with. Values are what we choose to live for. If you don't choose certain values to live for, vasanas will continue. Now, let me give you another example. You all know Gurudev was a journalist. And Shivananda, his first guru, was a doctor, physician. Now, if you look that carefully, Swami Ishwarananda was a doctor and he gave up that practice and then came to Himalayas from Malaysia and he started practicing yoga and other things. and then he was in great tapas for many years, and slowly people gathered around him, and he went on teaching about it, and then started an ashram. And finally what he did, he started serving the poor, giving medicine to the poor. Now his original practice of original profession of being a doctor did not change, but why he did changed, or to whom he did change. Earlier he was doing as a profession for money, etc. Now he changed that to service. So also Gurudev was a voracious reader, great writer. He worked for National Herald and wrote articles. You have seen in that movie, On a Quest. He went to Shivananda Maharaj, learned from him, went to Swami Tapovanam, learned from him. Ultimately what he did, came back talking and writing. No, but earlier he did write for freedom, for the freedom of the country, and then about social issues, social injustice, etc. Now the whole tone changed, but the writer remained the same. The journalist still continued, but changed it, changed the focus. So you need not have to stop what you're doing, but change for what you're doing. So values to live, in this slide you see, there are three major aspects in which values can be practiced: social, personal, and spiritual. At the social level, values such as punctuality, non-violence, integrity, friendliness, serving others. At the personal level, it is cleanliness, self-control, sincerity, self-love, prayer. At the spiritual level, it is more of self-honesty, unconditional love, truthfulness, devotion, and meditation. Now, one may say, Swamiji, I am not at this present moment having any spiritual vision or goal. No doubt. But start with at the social level. Meaning, if you are committed to someone that I will come at this point of time, or I will meet you at this time, you doing that as punctually as possible will give that mark of your personality. Hey, if I tell so and so to come, he will be there. That is your value. Gurudev, for that matter, he would tell us, if you are talking to certain, say, 20 people who are come to your class, right? And they are come and spending an hour, you must value their time. You must be there at time, and you complete at that time. Because 20 people, 1 hour means 20 man hours. You cannot, that is one full day, 24 hours. 24 people are there in front of you. Each one of these spending 1 hour means one full day is gone, as far as the man hours are concerned. That one full man hour day, one full day of 24 man hours is not easy to get. So you have to be careful. You are using it for a purpose, and start in time, end in time. And so that value you must maintain. Similarly, nobody wants harsh words to be heard from anybody else. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants to be treated hurtfully. So start from yourself. When I say anything, do anything, it should be non-violent. It should not be something which sounds harsh to anybody, either by action or by words or by thought. The social level, the integrity, that is when you give a word to someone that you would do it, or you will not do it, or you do in time, it has to be kept. The promise has to be kept. So that's when people will trust you. So at the social level, it's important value to make sure that when you have committed to something, you stand by that. So also friendliness, meaning not to have strong prejudices about people, likes and dislikes apart, your personal judgment about people apart, making sure that everyone is treated in the same manner, friendly, and serving others. So these are all social values. So at the personal level, again, it's not somebody else to notice it. It is something which I'm honest to myself about what I do. So my environment in which I live, my personal life should be clean. If somebody walks into my room, it should not be shabby. It should not be everything thrown here and there. Whether it's my home or in my room, I wish make sure that I have a personal value about cleanliness. I have to make sure that I keep things in the correct place. Many people spend a lot of time searching for things which they have themselves misplaced somewhere. So these are all the personal values. Self-control, brahmacharya. For example, nobody at your age is going to tell you what you should eat, what you should not eat, how much you eat, how much you should not. So that should be your personal, value of, okay, I know when to stop. I stop there. And I don't be influenced by people and, oh, you can eat more. No, that's not that much only I need. So this kind of a personal value about your physical health and self-control of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, all sense organs. Similarly, if you are convinced about something, following it to the core, that sincerity, doing things with utmost interest, that when I'm, for example, when I prepare for the slides, I'm very careful about whom I am addressing and how am I going to present it. I would like to be as sincere as possible in delivering the subject. So this we learned from Gurudev. You cannot take your audience for granted. You cannot take the people for granted. You must make sure that you are addressing the correct way to the correct set of people. So in anything that you do, you must have that one-pointed attention and full participation in what you're doing. Similarly, self-love, which here self-love does not mean loving your physical body or anything. It is about, I like myself. Only when you like yourself, you have the liking for everybody else. If you start hating, you have a so low self-esteem about yourself, you don't take interest in people. So the self-love is important. And prayer is about not I want this, I want that. No, prayer is showing a gratitude towards God for what we have given. I am so grateful to the Lord. So that way, the prayer helps one feel contented, happy, grateful, etc. At the spiritual level, the values are self-honesty. Meaning, if I have studied something and I am understood that, I must make it my practice. And nobody is going to watch me for that. Similarly, unconditional love. Meaning, the Lord is expressed through unlimited love for everyone, all creation. So whether it is a human, animal, or plants, I must have no disparity in giving love. Similarly, truthfulness. If you have a faith, if you are believing something, making sure that you find out whether you believe is right or not. What you have been thinking is right or not by your own experimentation. That's what we call as truthfulness. And devotion towards the higher consciousness and meditation. Meditation is about sitting with oneself and making sure that one's life is based upon the core values one has decided to live by. Constantly checking that. Now, moving from self-awareness to the next one, from values to intention, the next one is in the form of thoughts. At the intellectual level, it is in the form of thoughts. So it is the intentions that trigger thoughts, which we have seen in the previous diagram as well. So it is reorganizing the priorities. As I've told you, the intellect is the one which is considering certain things are priority in my life, certain things are of the secondary priorities, tertiary, etc. So if I have considered, every weekend hanging out with people is my top priority, I will compromise on submitting my papers in time. So when I do not have the clarity about my priorities, I usually end up in getting stressed. So therefore, here we need to reorganize the priorities. Now let us see how that is possible. Intentions leading to thoughts. Intentions are the intensity of your values. How intensely one feels about what one is. I think I'll stop after this for questions. Intentions are the intensity of our values. Now, many times what happens is in us, let us say I have a value called punctuality. Okay, I should start in time in anything that I do. I don't want to waste anybody's time. And what happens to us is we expect everybody to behave in the same way. Let us say that time to start at 7:30 and somebody join in at 7:40, 7:50. Usually what happens is we make hey, this fellow is so careless. So we easily pass judgments. And then we get a negative thought about that person. Oh, that fellow is always like that. And then we talk about it. We may gossip about it. We then make fun of it, whatever. So what happens is our values should not necessarily a judging scale for judging somebody else. They are not, the purpose of the values are not for you to judge others. They are for you to practice individually and make yourself more and more evolved than expecting others to appreciate what you are doing or appreciate your values, or not even for others to practice as you want them to. That's not the intention. So please understand that point. Intentions are intensity of your own values. And how my value can be intensified? Only by repeating those thoughts in my mind. Meaning, if I have taken a particular core value for me to transform, I must make sure that I repeat it in my mind. I must be able to recall, remember, retain what actually and the clarity comes. Slowly, the clarity comes. For example, if Gurudev said that in your words, there must be friendliness. In your words, there must be love. In your words, there must be the weight of, your words must carry the weight of sincerity. Okay. Now, how am I going to bring that? This thinking should be there. I have to repeat myself again and again that whenever I am talking, it should be weighing with sincerity. It should have the correct amount of the tone, the way I say. Everything should be in such a way that it has love. It has it is meant for benefiting others, as it is said in Gita, that Gita very clearly says, Satyam vada, Priyam vada, Hitam vada. When you are saying something, it must be first of all something which is true. Even when you are telling something true, it should be told with great love. And even when you are saying the truth with great love, it should be useful. Satyam, Priyam, Hitam. So I should, before I utter a speech, before I do something or say something, I must make sure I think about it. I repeat my mind in my mind. I have a repetition of thought saying that yes, it should have these three values or these three characteristics. The intention decide what you want to achieve in your life as well. So it should not be an empty practice. It must be directing myself towards a particular goal. And redefine your purpose as you grow mature. Because our goals are also constantly being redefined. And that, a very beautiful example I can remember is that the chief of Singapore, Singapore is a very small country, as you all know, very small. It's not even the size of Chennai. Small country. It's a country by itself. It isn't even bigger than a city in India, a big city in India. But the CEO of that country, he counts himself as a CEO of the country. He has defined why or what the country should do. It doesn't have, Singapore for that matter doesn't have farm fields. It doesn't have great manufacturing units. It doesn't have its own resources, natural resources. It doesn't have any great labor power because the number of people are less. Now, he defined Singapore should be a place where maximum export-import should take place, meaning retail business should be the highest. That is the core principle on which that particular government and the society of people are built with. They don't manufacture anything. You do not see anything made in Singapore. No. They don't have a raw material. They don't have natural raw material. They do not have a labor power. But what they have is ability to do the retailing and shipping, because they are pretty much at in the bay, so they can do shipping. So they built a beautiful shipping system. Their air traffic or the airlines are the best in the world. Service is the best in the world, and their hospitality, tourism, best in the world. Now see, their resources are limited. With the limited resources, they brought about quality. Now, if in spite of great resources, great labor power, great amount of manufacturing ability, many countries will fail. So redefining what should we as a country should do? What should be we known as? In the world, we should be known for something, which we should never compromise. So that redefining in a country or a community or a society or a group of people or an individual, that intensity should come. That is what we call it as redefining the purpose again and again, clarifying to yourself. So at this level, realize that thought repetition should not be habitual, it should be conscious to create right intentions. This will transform your thoughts. So what we saw was vasanas have to be replaced by values, and values can be something which you have to think about, non-negotiable, and you must narrow it down, zero into few things, definable into yourself, not for anybody else, definable to yourself. You define it to yourself. This is how this is going to be in my personality, and make sure that that is expressed in everything that you do, speech, action, in the way you interact, everything. And you may have to redefine it, prioritize it according to the need, and constantly look at within and see how am I bringing it out? How am I bringing it out in all my interactions and thoughts, etc. So that intention must be intensified at the intellectual level. Okay, I will stop right now for any questions that you may have. We have 7 minutes there. Yes.
Swamiji, I had a question.
Yeah.
And the first portion was really a very interesting thing for me, especially about non-negotiability of values.
Right.
And then second part, Swamiji spoke about prioritizing.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is it's not prioritizing values, but it's prioritizing important things. Or is it prioritizing values that Swamiji was referring to?
You know, as I said, the vasanas have to be replaced by values, right? So that itself is an important activity, because vasanas are what we are born with. Values are what we have to live for, right? So there will be a big gap between these two, because your vasanas may not allow certain values to easily take place, right? So, but once you are intellectually convinced about what values have to live for, based upon how much you are influenced by somebody who is practicing this value, maybe who is present or one who might have been dead, his writings or her writings may have influenced you to follow that. Like, for example, Martin Luther King, living in other part of the globe, was so influenced by the non-violence aspect of Mahatma Gandhi, right? So he was though I don't know whether in life they have met, probably they met each other. But the influence is so strong. So it can be somebody who's living it, and you come to know about it, and you come to feel for it, and that becomes yours, right? It can be a person who's alive or a person who's maybe gone. His words or writings and life, everything might have influenced you. So first of all, personalizing it. Although that takes time, because as I said, your vasanas may not allow it, because its intensity of vasanas is so high that it actually it is overpowering you at the present moment, all of us. So to constantly bring in, yes, this is my value, this is my value. So this way of intensifying is what I call it as intensity. So you may be convinced by a particular value, but they don't become very intense. So thinking about it is very important, and bringing it into action in the form of anything that you say, do, interact. Now, while you are thus trying to bring about a value into your life, you may have to redefine again and again, because you may start with something with an assumption, but you will slowly realize, I have to change the way I do things. That's why I call it as a redefining. Based upon the input that you have got, based upon the experiences that you have got so far, you may have to redefine it. Like what many of the kids who go to universities with a certain idea that I'm going to do this course or whatever, and then after 2-3 years you ask them, I changed my mind. Why? Because I redefined my purpose. No, I understood that I'm not capable of doing, or I'm capable better in doing this, which I came to know after studying some particular subject. I'm so inclined to take up that subject than something else. Somebody might have gone with an intention to become a medical practitioner. Suddenly there's no, I'm good in writing, I go to journalism, or I'm good in something else. I can do better do in law. So whatever. So it is necessary at that point you don't feel bad about it, because if your core values are integrated with certain other things, you may have to proceed in that direction. That's what I call it as redefining your priorities. And also, when your values are, when you start practicing certain values, we also redefine your daily activity also. What is most important, which I thought when I started off with, and now I think that that's not necessary. Based upon my values, I find those things are not necessary. I don't think that is a priority for me anymore. Right? So,
thank you, Swamiji. This is very helpful.
So we have seen so far is values leading to intention to thoughts. Then we will proceed on to the next level as we meet next year. Next week. Shall we conclude here now? Right?
Sure, Swamiji.
It's already 8:30, I think. 8:29. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkhabhat bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.